Dan here, Vagabond Buddha. I'm in Campeche, Mexico. Just finished my run and had a few thoughts. Thought I would share. So when people learn about the concept of awareness, a kind of awareness that is free of suffering. It's desirable to them because they don't want to suffer, and to the extent they understand they are suffering, they'd like it to stop. And the kind of people that are talking about it and whatnot, they can sense that they're more spiritually centered in some way. And so there's kind of an inherent trust. There's always suspect, right? We always listen with a guard at the door, but it just feels maybe more authentic on a scale than maybe other, quote, spiritual sources that we hear that are belief-based. So again, in summary, the idea that that awareness itself, not aware that I have my shoes on right now, but awareness as a word pointing at something that really all of the spiritual masters have talked about for centuries, a way of perceiving the world that is without suffering. Regardless of your religion, it's available to everybody. Or no religion, it's available. It's not really about belief, it's about a way of being that's without suffering. You can kind of see it on the face of the person if you engage with someone like that who has that awareness available to them. And it's not you can see that they don't have the same level of pain, if any, that you'll see even on many spiritual leaders that are promoting a belief system. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with belief systems. That's not useful in the process of helping others find awareness. Beliefs exist. Humans have beliefs, and they're basically a library of information that you use in your culture, in your family, that protects you. So beliefs are useful. You know to run when there's a lion, or you know to not walk out in traffic without looking either way. And then those are just examples. But so the purpose of beliefs is to protect you from probably yourself mainly. And so there's no way to ever get rid of beliefs. You'll never not have your point of view or have beliefs. And so it's not useful for me to attack your beliefs because you'll never be able to get rid of them. But and it's completely irrelevant. Since you can never get rid of your beliefs, they might change over time. I'm not saying you don't change your beliefs. I'm saying that you generally are going to have beliefs your whole life. And this is not the subject of awareness. Awareness is not about what you believe. You continue to do that. And again, I should tell you, I'm in a city there's cars all around me, so it should make no difference to what I'm saying. So I'm talking about awareness, which is like a which is more like where you're sitting when you have your beliefs rather than what they are. So anyway, when people who have beliefs, which is all of us, we begin to hear about this idea of awareness, which is where you sit when you believe rather than what you believe. And that there's a way to sit that's free of suffering. When we still believe we are our mind and we don't see we don't have an awareness yet that includes a space of being that our mind exists in. When we don't have the awareness yet, so we don't have the space that exists that our mind functions in, our mind gets confused because it can't really see the space it sits in. It thinks it is us. And so it gets a little bit disheveled, if you will, at first, and starts to resist and ask questions like, well, if beliefs aren't important, what's the purpose of life, and this sort of thing. It doesn't hear when I say beliefs are fine, you can't get rid of them, you're going to have them your whole life. Or it may in fact hear that and be threatened by it. And so it asks questions like, what's the purpose, what's the meaning, if this whole awareness nonsense, it can't be real, I don't know how to do it, what is he talking about? I mean, just a slew of things. Because remember, the mind's there to protect you. It's rush hour, by the way, that's why there's so many cars. The mind's there to protect you, and it sounds like you're some, this idea is some charlatan that's coming in the back door trying to, take your bank account or whatever. And it's standing guard. So, and you can't, you're not going to get rid of your mind, and you're not going to get rid of your beliefs. And so it'll take a while for you to hear the idea that you can have a mind and sit differently with it. But you can't get rid of it, can't get rid of your beliefs. All you can do is sit differently with your mind. And that's what the awareness is. It's a way of sitting that where there's no pain. And so all sorts of ideas are going to come up. And the mind's going to try all sorts of different things to put you back to where you were when you thought you were a mind. Along the way, as you begin to seek the awareness that I'm speaking about. What's the purpose of life? Why doesn't my religion talk about this awareness? Oh, that's an interesting question. That's one your mind will run off with pretty quickly. What's the motivation of the person talking about this freedom from suffering? What do they really want? What kind of car do they drive? The mind's very clever, and so the other one I like the mind comes up with is the language these aware people use is kind of odd. My friends are gonna, if I get the awareness, am I gonna start speaking oddly? Am I gonna be able to keep the same friends? Are they all gonna dump me? That's a good one. I remember all the thoughts I used to have when I was grappling with whether or not to maintain awareness once I found it, or once the mind was trying to convince me not to be free of pain. So maybe it's useful to say, maybe a little bit about me. Did I join any clubs? No. Do I talk funny? Yeah, but only to you. I mean, that might sound silly, but the public space isn't. The public space does think this language is funny, and that's why I'm just Dan from Vagabond Buddha. I don't like go to a cocktail party and talk like this. I don't recruit my friends and try to get them to go to meetings, or the reason I'm speaking to you is because you're not my friend, you're not my family, and I'm just on YouTube speaking into the abyss. And so, you know, what is the purpose of me speaking into the abyss? Like, what is the goal? Like, what, you know, do I have a motivation? Do I, and that's an interesting question and worth answering. Like, why am I doing this? So consciousness is evolving, and there's the concept of self-awareness in the spiritual sense, which is the ability to listen to your mind as it speaks, the ability to have moments, hours where your mind, you don't notice your mind speaking at all. You're just being joyfully alive in awareness. This is a place of being that if humans were to evolve to this place, meaning not just, you know, 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 1,000, but, you know, if some number, I don't know what it is, if 20% of humans figured out how to be aware, to be in the awareness, to be free of suffering, the planet would shift. And I don't mean physically on its axis. I mean human consciousness would go to a new level where it would be difficult for anybody to suffer, because beliefs. There would become I don't know if this is good or bad, maybe it's subject for another thing, but there would be a belief in this idea of awareness. And with conviction of belief comes momentum. It's kind of funny when you talk about it this way, because if you think about what awareness is, it's awareness of beliefs. Awareness that you're having beliefs and that your beliefs aren't having you is what gives you the freedom from suffering. And then, if this is something where eventually the human kind could hear these funny words and understand or be in experience what it means to be aware, the momentum, the life of free of suffering is so much more interesting way to live. Just demonstrably inside your body, it feels better, and that comes across clearly in individuals that are, you know, if you have the luck to be with an individual who, you know, you might end up at I don't know, somewhere where you meet someone like that, and who's saying they are aware, or that there is an awareness, and they're talking about how to get there, or whatever. Someone like me, I suppose. Imagine if every fifth person you knew was in that place where they were living in a place mostly without suffering. I'm not saying that awareness is permanent. It's a way of, you still have pain from time to time, and when it happens, though, you have awareness available to you. Whereas if you don't have that place of sitting that's different, then there's no way to get rid of the pain. Maybe it reduces over time naturally as you pick different things to think about, but it's not available to you like a switch as soon as you feel pain. And when there's enough people around, And notice there's no cars now, so I don't have to yell. When there's enough people around that that have that switch available, it'll quickly be visible who doesn't, and they'll be able to see it themselves more clearly, and there'll be an acceleration of consciousness where humans are born and sit in awareness the majority of their life. And as that happens, even those that were early to the game, that found the grace early, it's a grace, by the way, it's nothing you have to be smart or to get or to deserve. You don't deserve awareness. You just sit differently and are in awareness by some grace. But though I think everyone that has it available to them when they're in an environment like that are going to have a higher percentage of their time available to them. So what I'm getting at is, what is the purpose? It's not a shift in beliefs. It's not going to change anyone's beliefs in any sort of organized fashion. There's really nothing to believe. It'll just reduce human suffering on a massive social scale, and people won't need to strike out at each other because of the anger they have, because the world isn't going the way they want. They'll have better control of their emotions, and they'll be able to articulate their beliefs without burning the consciousness of anyone around them. So without anger, without fear, for almost all the time. And so the planet will be a better place. So what's the motivation? It's bring joy to humanity, bring a high level of consciousness to humanity. Okay, so that's my selfish motivation for being on YouTube talking about this, is to make the world a better place, which I think ultimately is really all anyone wants to do. Make the world a better place. So I hope you're here. But that's a dog barking. Have a great day. Bye.